Hi, my name is Jazz Smith, and I am reaching out to anybody whose lives have been touched in any capacity by these two people, Sun Myung Moon and Hak Jahan Moon, father and mother Moon, otherwise known as the Unification Church Family Fed for World Peace. So I'm going to say some stuff that for some people it's going to be flat out heretical, but for other people it's going to be incredibly liberating. Either way, I hope you're able to stick it through to the end. So I'm bona fide. I was blessed in 1989, 1275, the McColl factory blessing. Had the whole family thing, did the indemnity conditions. So I know what I'm talking about. And what I see going on right now is really devastating. I mean, it is heartbreaking for me to see Mother Moon being jailed at her age and the legacy that she has. So I'm going to put that forward. But it's also a time of reckoning. And we know this, that there's been stuff that has gone on. But I didn't set out to create a video to help people reckon with this. I actually, full disclosure, wanted to share about a program that I've been developing over the many years, 10, 15 years, that I call the Ideals of Love Paradigm. It started as a relationship education program and evolved into a consciousness movement. And that's really what I wanted to reach out to. But this was too big. It was the elephant in the room. So before I even touched anybody who was associated or affiliated with the church, I had to state clearly where I stood with everything. So I'm going to go back a little bit and kind of establish that. So some of you might remember in 2012, shortly before Father Moon's passing, before he got sick, that summer he gave a speech, and in it he really spoke from his heart and he said, I have completed my mission. And then that following year, after his passing, was year one of Chungilguk. It was the foundation day. My own daughter went to that blessing, and so I'm well aware of what happened on that occasion. And it was like, wow, okay, he's finished. He's completed the conditions to build the kingdom of heaven on earth. How fantastic is that? And so there we were all left with this question, the Family Federation. What is that? What do we do now? How do we move forward now? So what is it even? Okay, I had to do that. I've always thought federation was a silly word. And so, yeah, you got that federation. But what is a federation? It is an organization formed by several groups or parties as to make one group. Okay, well, that's not real clarifying. I took a trip down to Dallas and visited with John Jackson. Wow, Reverend Jackson. Amazing man. And I was having a conversation with him at this time. So, what actually is this? Is this a federation of independent families and we're supposed to just go out and do our thing? Or is it going to be the centrally controlled organization that it's basically always been? And he said to me, Jazz, I don't really know. The verdict is out. So I took that permission to really go out and follow my passion, what was really most passionate about everything in Reverend Moon's message was the three great blessings. And this is true for a lot of members. And anyone who's been associated with the divine principle knows this chart. Well, I thought it was pretty darn sterile. And my daughters helped me create this beautiful image, this diagram that, as you can imagine, represents the three great blessings. And I also thought the three great blessings was pretty religious Old Testament-ish stuff. And I changed it to the ideals of love and started to do programs right there at our church. Had the image and going out and yeah, we can build the ideal world. It's here. We cleared the path. Everything's been cleared for us to make this happen. So there I was. In the meantime, though, Mother Moon, she had a few problems of her own, namely her boys that were out there just doing some really strange stuff. And okay, I can't even find words for this. And there's Ingenim. I don't. She was in a loveless marriage. Crazy. I know her husband, wonderful guy. But what is Mother Moon supposed to do under these circumstances? She's kind of got to double down on the leadership. She's got to make clear, I am the inheritor of this. And so then comes out this the only begotten daughter of God thing of where she said, hey, I'm the Messiah too here, and just really planted the flag on that. And then the building of another palace. Oh, great, just what we needed. That's just exactly what we needed. Uh, the Chunbokgung was funded by donations totaling 105 billion. For your information, that's 77 million. I thought it was a whole lot more. I imagine that number is. Where did that money come from? Well, remember the Chumbo blessing, right? The purchasing of these robes and I don't know. That whole thing just seems so. Now we have a class system in heaven, and if you got your purple robes, you're somehow part of an elite class. It just stunk. For me, it did. And the top dollar figure of it to, I don't know what it was supposed to liberate all your ancestors, I guess, make you some holy somehow, was 55K. And this was all done in the face of what was going on over in Japan, the financial scandal, when it was really becoming clear how the Japanese members became so indebted to support their goals, the leaders' goals, financial goals. And, there's stories of people losing their homes and just being in absolute destitute. And that's even before the whole Abe assassination scandal that went on and the church was identified. Still, Mother Moon, she plowed forward with this whole thing and the optics of it. Just think of it. She's over there building another palace on at Chungkyang, and when this is happening. So, what is the church's response to her indictment of what's going on? Well, Damien Dunkley frames it as persecution and arrest and an assault on religious freedom in the radical left. But come on, man. Uh, us paying out bribes and giving things and purses and watches to people, that's not new. That's not a one-off. That's a feature of our church ever since Reverend Moon did this picture of him visiting Gorbachev and Kim. How was that made possible? Millions of dollars. And the religious and political leaders that went to those fancy conferences, anybody who's aware of anything knows this. So the real question that it kind of begs is, gosh, you don't think this has something to do with conditions, right? Right? We were drilled all the time. Oh, that's a good condition. Oh, bad condition. Yeah, really. And it just bled right over to what was going on in America. There's this guy, and right around that's 21, shortly after he instigated the insurrection or Capitol, our church pays him $2 million to speak for less than 10 minutes on a video call at one of his events. And this was my breaking point. For your information, I held my nose up to that point, but when the church gave him that and gave him a platform to speak and legitimized him, basically, it was just too much for me, and I haven't gone back since then until I hear the church changes tune on it, but it won't. It was under my nose all the time that we had become so embedded, so invested really in the right and the far right. I mean, if you pick up the Washington Times, the whole headwing thing, what a lie. That was never a part of it. It was always centered on Reverend Moon's vitriol hatred for communism, and that was just used by everything that's on the right. And, this really got me to question. I mean, what really got me to question was my own children. But what this opened my eyes. God, if they're wrong about this, what else? If they are so off about the support for that man, what else is it? And I started to look at this whole vision of Chung Il Guk and the Chung Il Guk Constitution. You read it there. Man, it reads like the Iranian Republic's uh, doc constitution. And it's no mistake. It's tied exactly to Christian nationalism. Make no mistake about it. It's one and the same. So really, when I hear this now, one nation under God, what I'm actually hearing is an authoritarian theocracy. I know that's radical to say, but this is what, you know, cognitive dissonance. We hear this word going around. It's when you hold together a framework just long enough to where the pain, the mental discomfort gets so unbearable and the inconsistencies and the conflict with the aspects of their behavior becomes intolerable. But how does an organization deal with that? What do they say to their member? Well, here's this other word that's related to it, gaslighting, where it's a psychological manipulation that causes victims to question the validity of their own thoughts, perceptions, reality, or memories, leading confusion, lost confidence. There's so much gaslighting over there. I remember when Yojanim's whole scandal broke and Injim wrote the book, The Shadow of the Moon. And the church's direction to us, don't read it, don't have any give and take with it, don't give it any energy. When in fact, there was a real valid problem going on there. And this is just, it just stinks of it. So this is all a call for critical thinking, which unfortunately the church did not do much fostering of how do you critically think things through. And you just even look at this statement, absolute love, absolute faith, absolute obedience, right there in our pledge. Really, really, to who? To what am I going to have absolute love, absolute faith, absolute obedience? Now, I know the heart of God and what true parents revealed in that, and it is beautiful. I know the heart of a really faithful member of saying, "Yeah, I just want to do what God wants." I get that, but I would turn towards the existentialist, the transcendentalist. Here's Walt Whitman. Re-examine all you've been told and dismiss whatever insults your soul within your own being. I mean, wasn't that the essence of what we were supposed to be learning here? Of being able to have this kind of discernment, to be able to figure this out? And one of the areas, besides the political stink that the church has, is so terrible, is their attitude about the LGBT plus community. This to me, especially in light of how many of our members that have come out of the Unification Church that have identified as LGBT plus. I mean, I just think of what Pope Francis says. I think he's the real model in this. If a person is gay and seeks the Lord in his goodwill, who am I to judge? You have a good-hearted person, and I have family and friends who are in this community. And so I just don't want anything to do with the church, just even in this one area. So people ask me, well, Jazz, okay, what's the bottom line here? Do you believe in true parents or not? All right, let me answer that. I think what they brought into the world was an absolutely beautiful vision. International and interracial marriages break down the barriers, make one family. That's what I joined. That's what I was so inspired by, as so many people are. And they gave me a beautiful, beautiful family and taught me about the intergenerational family. This is a picture with the grandparents and the grandkids, and that we lived with them, and it was just so. As one member once said, "Do you believe in true parents? As are they the savior?" And they said, "Well, they saved my life, and I can say that too." Man, my life was on a really whacked out trajectory before I met the church, and it gave me so much. So yes, I do believe in true parents, but I don't believe in the carte blanche of what they are. My father once said, when I was telling him some of the problems going on with Father and Mother Moon's children, his response, who also had 12 children, he responded to me, "Well, now they really are true parents." It was so profound. It was like, yeah, now they're really learning the lessons of what it is to be a parent. And this leads me to one of my biggest peeves with this, their whole construct is they never modeled for us how to own up to our mistakes. They never did. It was always something else's fault. And this is in part the Asian Korean tradition. It's just like it's just pulling teeth to get them to say, "I'm sorry." I ran into that so many times with Korean leaders. But really, when you're a parent, you realize you make mistakes, and the best thing to do is to show your children the humility that you can recognize that. They never ever modeled that. Do you think right now, if True Mother came out and says, "Yeah, all of that gift giving that we did to peddle influence, that was kind of screwed up," and if the buck stopped with me, I was the last person. I should have done something about it. They were surrounded by yes men, yeah, they just people who just they wanted to tell them what they wanted to hear, and that was another big fault line, is that there was no mechanism for critical thinking or discernment of decision making. And the other thing, and this is even deeper, is that the focus on the church of true parents being worshipped. This is just it just runs counter to me. I think of the great leaders, and if there's an afterlife and a spirit world, imagine them all in their respective realms. If they're really connected to the heart of God and to the noble virtues of love, do you think any of them are concerned about how much you bow to them and how much you're worshiping them? I don't think so. And I know this because the thing I want the most is to realize a world of lasting peace. They certainly can't be any smaller than that. So, what I've come to in my relationship with true parents and with the church is that striving in love is my salvation. I'd rather spend an eternity in hell with unsaved but caring people than in the exclusive country club of heaven of Chung Il Guk, filled with the condescending religious hypocrites. That's right. My little ticket of salvation that I got at the blessing, you can have it back. I don't want to be associated with the hypocrisy that's going on. To me, it's about cultivating the love within, about that is expressed as empathy, compassion, patience, kindness, generosity, forgiving. That's the whole thing of heart, right? That we're building, we're growing our heart. How much do true parents use that word, the culture of heart, the revolution of heart? So this heart is the authority of my life. That's my first fundamental pillar that I take out of the teachings. And secondly, is that ideals of love, the realization of an ideal world centered on the universal truths that manifest in infinite beauty that all works to the goodness of all. It is being anchored, grounded in that love's purpose. That's what I've taken from it. And that's what I hold supreme. And thirdly, is that once I know that purpose that comes out of the heart, it integrates my relationships. Now I live. I'm a person of integrity. So if there's disintegration going on, like supporting a wannabe dictator who's separating families and going after his enemies and putting soldiers on the troop, that's disintegration. That falls completely out of that. So heart, purpose, integrity. This is the essence of what I'm driving into the world. This is what I've taken from it. And in my estimation, if you want to be a person of peace, it starts here, right here. So I started this I conceived a video and I thought, well, let's call it Don't Throw the Baby Out with the Bathwater. I love this analogy. I guess there was a time maybe in when those big families, the Irish Catholic or the Moonies or whatever, and they had too many babies and they would forget that there was a baby in the bath. I don't know where it came from, but that's what I'm calling you to. Whatever your relationship is with the church now, let's try to salvage it because that's all we do anyway in our life. No matter what's going on, we just got to salvage the best and discard the worst. So if you want to know more about my ideas, you can go to idealsoflove.com. But I hope you can make it through this and somehow just be a better person for it. Isn't that right? Thanks. Bye.